Um, I would love to introduce your host for the night, so please, a round of applause first. Please, go on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. I hear his mother's favorite son and only son, and his name is Ngatia, and he's currently standing in front of you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a wonderful night tonight because we're not just here alone. It's like one of those paranormal situations. We have people joining us from home. So hello, people from home. I hope muko salama. Kama uelewi, at this moment, we don't have subtitles, but we might work on them as we're going. For everyone who availed themselves here, asanteni sana yet again. This is Civic Canvas for anyone who was dragged here by their date and their friend, and they have absolutely no idea what's going on. And what we do at Civic Canvas is we use art to interrogate and try make sense of what's been going on in society, especially politically. If you've been living under a rock that has not been thrown at a police officer, lucky you, but some shit has been going down this year, right? Yongapi walikuwa kwa street. Fabulous, fabulous, because we were to start with a word of prayer, and I hope you're going to join me. Ametuzoea, ametuzoea, nani, ametuzoea. Asante, sir. I see. This is the right people. This is exactly who we needed here. So before we begin, I'd like to make a few announcements. This is not for you, person at home. At this point, you can get your drink. This is for people here. Make yourself at home. And as you're doing that, we have restrooms. They are right outside. After the lifts, if you went to a fancy school, after the elevators, to the left, those are the gents. To the right, the ladies. Inside here, it's a strictly no smoking zone. Please don't be tempted to go into the balcony. They're like false balconies. You might walk out and keep walking out, and all we'll hear is a short scream. So if you need to smoke, please go downstairs towards the gate. There's a smoking zone there. Should anything happen, we don't expect any abduction, but should anything happen that needs us to leave in a way of emergency, the emergency exit is behind you. There's a green sign behind you to the left. All right? Is that clear? All right, wonderful. I hope you've gotten your drinks because now we're live. You can share. There's a link on the Baraza Media Lab social media pages and on the YouTube page. And because we're live, as long as there's a performance or a conversation, we do not have the capacity to make coffee or cocktails. However, there will be a short intermission to allow you to refill your glasses and your cups. Is that all right? All right. Thank you very much. The host already got the round of applause. So what we're going to do now is get straight into the thing. We have a fantastic array of poets lined up today and a wonderful conversation, and we're going to get straight into the poetry. And the first act tonight is one of the most talented individuals in the country and the world at the moment. One of, this is not a rising star because in reading up on stars recently, and apparently they don't rise, even the sun doesn't rise, we go around the thing. So one of the stars we're going around as an audience is called Nyash. Absolutely fantastic. Saying anything more would be underrating her. I'll actually let her introduce herself, all right? So please, round of applause for Nyash.
Shika wallet vizuri. Kuna mwizi kando yako na haujui. Haujui kuna mwizi kando yako, lakini unajua. Ulijifunza kuprofile majambazi na mavazi. So unashuku mwenye ako na jeans ripped. Asifu unafuata script ukasahau kuangalia mwenye ako na suti kando yako. Kando yako kuna fisi na haumtambui. Haumtambui juu amevalia ngozi ya kondoo. Unashuku mwenye ako na jeans ripped, tisho imefed na Air Force zimeisha hewa, so anaziforce kukanyaga lami. Haushuku huyo anabonga kilami kando yako. Na kuna wezi kando yetu na hatujui. Hatujui wananyemelea jasho yetu ya kutoka asubuhi. Na unaona kwa hii barabara, ukipiga kona mbili, utapatana na wao wakiwa watatu. Kwa hiyo mtaa, hiyo chuo mnapitanga haina mataa. Na before anything, utakutwa mabare 4-5 hivi, uzime masaa 6-7 hivi. By the time unaamka unakuta ni usiku wa 8 saa 7 hivi. Na ukijiangalia hauna means za kujiokolea jahazi juu amekutoa kila kitu hadi mavazi. A few minutes ago ulikuwa victim. Lakini sasa wewe ndio una fit profile yako mwenyewe ya jambazi. Ulijifunza mwizi ukaa hivi na hivi. Huvaa hivi na hivi. Ukasahau kuangalia wale wako na suti. Mwizi mkubwa ni huyo amevalia ngozi ya kondoo. Kuna mwizi kando yako na haujui. Haujui ananyemelea jasho yako ya kutoka asubuhi. Kuna mwizi anataka kuiba life ya vijana na watoi. Mwizi anaendesha bima akibia mama pima. Mwizi anakupima akikupimia. Anakuuma akipulizia. Mwizi kachwani anakurushia kuficha mathao amekuibia. Kuna mwizi amemwaga mafuta kwa corridors za justice, so zimejaa slippery floors. Kuna mwizi kando yako, lakini si sasa unajua. Hi guys. I am Nyash. The Nyash that was there before Nyash became Nyash. Eh? I am that Nyash. Eh? And if every Nyash matters, mine is the only one that really matters. Yeah. So my name is Nyash Nyangario Masharia. I am a performing artist. Na nimeanzia kuperform because I am doing a show right now in KNT, so lazima we keep it running, yeah. I'm a performing artist, naishi Nakuru, lakini my art is not limited to where I'm from. It also relates with you, yeah? So, a story is told. One of my favorite authors, I love reading books. Alikaa chini akaandika kitabu, very messed up. And you know we love that kind of stuff, right? So this book was written as a story. It has so many themes, but one of the major themes ilikuwa kuna competition. Unaona vile tunaweza kuja mimi Dofan, Elsafan, Ngatia tuna compete. Ule poet mnoma anatoka hapa na mathao, yeah? So this time ilikuwa competition, lakini ni competition ya wezi. So it's a competition of thieves, yeah? And the best thief gets to walk away with a prize. So before the competition, there was, of course, a lot of philosophy involved in the journey towards this part of the story. And one of the most interesting things is that a parable was told as it is told in the Bible, but it was told in another way. So a white man, a colonizer, came and called 3 of his African men. Wa kwanza akampea 500,000, wa pili akampea 200,000, wa tatu akampea 100 Gs. Akawaambia, naenda majuu, nikirudi nipate, you've done something with my money. So the first one went and bought stuff cheaply, then sold it very expensively to his fellow black men. The second one did the same thing. Then the last one, akakaa chini akasema, hii pesa huyu jamaa amenipea, nisipoifanyia kitu, haitampea profit. So ni jasho yangu anakula, na sitakubali. So he took the 100,000, went and buried it somewhere kwa mchanga. You guys have read that story? You've read it? So sisemi udaku, sindio? Yeah, so when the white man came, the colonizer, guys, when the colonizer came back, he was very pleased with how the first and the second guys were extorting money from, their fellow people. Watatu akakasirika akamwambia, si hata pesa yangu ungepeleka bank, hata kama ufanyi kazi nipate profit. But this man was hell-bent on the fact that jasho yangu hautakula hata kidogo. You're bright people. Whatever you do with that information is up to you. Yeah? So in the competition of thieves, the guy that won, of course, unakuja unaambia watu, mimi naendanga nina grab lands za watu, ninaenda ninakatakata, ninaenda nauzia watu wanafurahia. But the one that won, he had manifestos 5. Alisema, first of all, we are preaching the gospel of the drinking of human blood and the eating of human flesh. Yes? Figuratively, guys. So, number 1, we open education systems where we teach kids this system is the system that should go. Number 2, tufungue makanisa where we praise the drinking of human blood and eating of human flesh. Na watu hawaendi kanisa. Number 3, tunawafungulia klabu. Wakilewa nivyo. The 4th one was, what was it? Publications where we're going to denigrate people that oppose this system. And then the last one, imepotea kwa kichwa, it's humanist to error. But as you can see, yes, they're entertainment spaces. So show them films, cinemas that really praise the drinking of human blood and the eating of human flesh. So, this is what he does. The mind is the largest factory that manufactures poison. And you being here today to enlighten yourself means that you have allowed your mind not to be anyone's prison. Yeah? So kudos. Yeah? Aya basi. Tuna live stream as live bullets zinachimba graves za innocent kids waliokuwa kwa line of fire. Badges of honor zao ziko wapi? Guns zinatumika kama props za GTA. Hii yetu ni Vice City. Travesty ya Judas kuleta part 2 ya betrayal in our city. Education ni key ya ku-unlock poverty ya mind. So ameongeza fees za universities. Magazeti, clickbait za media na pages za Wikipedia zinaonyesha as the devil anaswear by the power of the cross. Nyuma yake fanatics wanachia as wana usher in the same old new era. Era ya the catechism of slavery. Difference ya this time na last time ni ati this time wajenzi wa taifa wanajenga kamiti ndani ya minds za watu. Guys, nchi yetu ni kinyozi na baba wa taifa ni kutunyoa tu, anatunyoa. Meanwhile, ndio maombi ya mwananchi. Mungu, nguvu si yetu. Baraka ulizoleta kwetu zimegeuka laana. Baraka ya mvua ikageuka laana ya mafuriko. Baraka ya viongozi ikageuka laana, sasa ni makasiriko. Baraka ulizoleta kwetu zimegeuka laana. Usiku kwa mchana kila kidole kinaelekeza lawama. Mawe ya kujengea taifa, hatujui ni nani alisanya. Haki bila ngao, haki imevuliwa ngao na mlinzi akageuka mwizi. So tutaishije kwa undugu kama hao mandugu ndio wanasababisha uchungu? Ndugu watoka nitoke, ndio atakutoka. Wamepotoka, watakuibia mchana na wasitoroke. Mungu. National anthem imegeuzwa opening statement kwa events. Beyond hapo ni lyrics bila actions. Dead. Tukifunga macho kuomba. Tukisema amen wanaita deni maombi yaliyojibiwa. Amen ya common mwananchi ni kama sinking ship. Tumefuliza hadi amani, hii jahazi ni nani ataokoa? Mungu. Tutaamini aje watu ukimbiza mdomo kwa nchi imejaa traffic? Tutaamini aje watu ukashifu na mikono imejaa unafiki? Tabia za nani adui na bado wanajiita rafiki? O bado ni wangapi na bado hawashikiki? Even the wicked sleep peacefully, hawatishiki. Baada ya dhiki, hawa wanafiki wanaongeza dhiki. Faraja iliuziwa the highest bidder. Mungu, nguvu si yetu. Bei ya common mwananchi inaendelea kushuka, stakes za life zikipanda. Mwananchi amechoka kusukuma wiki na sukuma wiki. Mwananchi amechoka kusukuma nchi. Nchi haijali atalala njaa ama uchi. Mwananchi anashiba uongo na bado analala njaa. Mwananchi ako soba lakini amegeuzwa madawa, design anatumiwa, design anaumizwa. Stories za pauko pakawa, in the end mwananchi anauliwa. Na ndio wajibu wetu kutouliza maswali, kuto-question hongo ikipewa askari. Tumegeuzwa blind brides, bora wazazi wanapata mahari, tusiulize maswali. Wakijifanya wanatujali na yetu maslahi, ndoto zetu zikabaki magizani, wengine wakapeleka zao makaburini. Ni wangapi wetu wako hai lakini washafariki? Mungu, nguvu si yetu. Tumalizie hapo si ama one for the road. Yes? One for the road. Aya. So juzi earlier on this year I did a concept show in Nakuru and I titled it Kashfa. Now Kashfa is Swahili for scandal. Yeah? So ikifika point tutasema kwa pamoja Kashfa. Let's to rehearse kidogo. 1, 2. Okay guys, we can do better than that. Hey, 1, 2. 1, 2. Thank you. Bado wakubwa wanataka kitu kidogo. Bado rich men wako na poor morals. Na bado watu who dig kwa oil companies hawajawahi kuwa mafutani. 10 millionaires, 10 million beggars. 9-hour day shifts hawajawahi clock in 8-figured salaries. Daily 7 to 6 na bado economy haijai wapea high five. Working on the weekend, waliachana na usingizi wa 4. Na bado dreams zao za 4-wheel drive zilikwamia kwa 3. Mara 1, 2 wanarushiwa tuso. Tuchwani fulani mara 3 na change haitoshi fare matatu. Mzinga inaangushwa mara 2, 3, ya 4 siku ya kueffect change wanakuanga wamefiatu. Wamezoea kubebwa na matatu, siku watapewa lift na 4-wheel drive. Hivyo ndio watakuwa secured for the next 5 years. Mara ngapi watasita wakidanganywa wahitaji kufanya kazi siku 6 ndio provide meals za siku 7. Alafu wanatokwa mchana hata si usiku wa manane. Yote 9. Ya 10 ni? Thank you. Ya 10 ni? Kashfa. Civil engineer anatamak kwa barabara imeundwa na mlami juu yeye aliambiwa hakuna kazi ya kuunda barabara, si barabara. Kashfa. Watu wako na kipara ndio wana advertise akili ni nywele, guys. Kashfa. Hata wewe utaconfirm siku nyesha yes. Lakini mfuko bado iko January. Relationship yako na do ni short lived kama February. Before you know it, pesa isha match out of your life. Na vile hii ekonomia na nini natupeleka tunafeel ni kama sisi ndio tulinvent April's first. Guys, ni? Opportunities ni kama zilipewa za macho zikaanza kukuonea. Ni kama wewe na pesa mnacheza patapotea. hii maisha matatu. Umelipia services za kiti, so mbona unakalia sambaza? Kashfa. Thank you guys.
Hivyo mlikuwa mmeanza hiyo ni kashfa. Hiyo. Please, 1, 2. Fantastic. Now I'm going to do 1, 2, and then you upload that way. 1, 2. One more time for Nyash. Asanteni sana. Nyash, asante sana. Hey, we had to start in Nakuru. Right? Tumetoka very far. Okay, your joke ni juu. We have Njora in the lineup. But Nyash is something else. Mimi, mtu yoyote anavanga jacket ya white kukuwa na mvua. Ogopa. Watu wa Kipara nasikia mmepitwa na nyinyi hapo. Poleni, cannot understand. Anyone who does not understand Sheng, is a manze sijui kunaendaje. If you're next to someone who does not understand Sheng, please interpret for them because it might not happen on stage. And now that we're on that story ya interpret, we do have a sign language interpreter seated right there in the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful top that I really, really want to steal, but I am not in government. So if you're hard of hearing and you need to understand what's going on, please turn to your left. And she is also visible for anyone who's watching from home. So karibuni tena. Again, my name is Ngatia. You shall see me later. But for now, I want us to take a different step. We'll come back to poetry as you process what Nyash has given you. Would like to have a conversation about a few things. I'll not lay them out. What I'm going to do is invite the person who will introduce what the conversation is about and the people who will be seated here, letting us into their minds and what they know about these things. And so, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folks, please give a huge round of applause for ule dem wa Misinformation mwenye huwa amisinform watu Wanjiro.
All right, hello everyone, good evening. Good evening. Hello, how are you? Were you expecting a panel discussion on a Friday evening? Were you? You were? How many were expecting a panel discussion? All right. Oh, it's just the guys at the front. Okay, fantastic. How many of you remember Aura for Aura? The statement, just it doesn't even matter. Just if you know anything about Aura for Aura. Aura for Aura, how many of you remember that? Okay, how many of you remember? Anyway, so that's what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about what was happening during the protest. We will try to unpack some of it as quickly as possible because I know we're here for the poetry, for the music, for the art, for everything that is going on tonight. But we felt like it was important for us to also understand, what is going on and also to empower ourselves even as we continue to consume information online. All right? My name is Wanjiru Nguhe. I work at Baraza Media Lab and I run a program called Fumbua. And Fumbua is a collaborative journalism project working to disrupt the flow of myths and disinformation. Are we together? With me tonight, we have a very exciting panel of my friends and colleagues who I've had the opportunity to work together with. I will just call them and I will ask them to come and join me in front here. The first person I see nodding very well from the back, his name is Mark Kaigwa. He works at Nendo, he's a researcher, and he will tell us very interesting insights on what is going on social media, what has been going on and what we can expect. So please give a hand to Mark until he gets here. Thank you very much. The second person I'm going to call up is also a friend who just became a friend recently. She's hiding somewhere on a dark corner there. Her name is Barbara. Barbara works at an organization called Kala. She's also a researcher, and she's done a lot of research around young people, tech, platforms, and how we were getting information. So please give a hand, and we'll clap until she gets here. The next person I'm going to call is also another friend of mine. His name is Nyongesa. I can't see him. Oh, yes. So Nyongesa, he works at the Media Council, and he'll also give us insight on media and what has been going on with the faculty. Please clap for him as he comes here. Thank you very much. And my name is Wanjiru. Please clap for me. So, like I said, we're just going to have a conversation about information integrity. And this conversation is important because for us to continue to engage and for us to continue to show up, we need to understand where are we getting the information we are getting. Are we getting accurate information? What is propaganda doing to us? What is misinformation doing to us? How is it affecting how we engage with government? All right? Okay? All right, thank you. So I'll start with, in no particular order. The first thing, before we went out into the streets, before the 25th of June, it is safe to say, and I stand corrected, it is safe to say that there was not much activity when it came to civic engagement. Am I right or am I wrong? Until it became really, really personal and people began to understand that the quality of our lives is directly affected by the decisions that are made by politicians. That is clear, all right? So the first thing that I'm going to ask about sources of information. When people cannot get accurate information from official government channels, as has been the case for for a long time, what options do they have? And where do you foresee the consequences, given that everyone right now, young or otherwise, is actively involved in governance and active citizenship? So when people cannot get accurate information, what are the consequences? What happens? Where do we move? Where do we go? I will start with you, Nyongesa. Welcome.
Right, thank you. And I think you raise a very important question about when people do not get information, what is that they will have to do. I think it's a very sad state that people cannot get information. And the best that people can do is find information. And that's, I think, what people did. Mm-hmm. Found information and shared it the way they found it. Yeah. And I think that is, for me, I'll say it's a very sad state when people cannot get information in the right manner and in the correct manner that, they're either requesting for it or they're seeking that information for. I'll just say, plainly, it's very sad. Mm-hmm. But again, what is it that they can do is to look for that information from wherever sources they want to look it from. Mm-hmm. They can, either it's social media, either it's, on mainstream media as it is. But again, there's need for us just to ensure that even as we look for that information, what kind of information are we looking at? Mm-hmm. Yes. All
right, fantastic. Thank you very much. And I like that you mentioned social media because, Barbara, you did a research the other day, and you were talking about engagement levels on social media platforms. And so could you kindly just tell us which were the active social media channels where people got the kind of information, and in terms of accuracy of this information, what did that picture look like? Like which platforms can we trust, which ones can we not trust, where are we likely to get misled on? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Wanjiru. So we were doing this research as Scala Limited, and our objectives were just to find out the opportunities that are there for civic tech, as well as to just find out the impact that the finance bill had on civic tech. So we had a sample group of different ages, from 18 years all the way to over 50, and you already know they rely on different sources of information. So the biggest one was online, but it was online for the groups that are up to 49 years. For 50 years old, from the research, what came out is they still really trust the influencers. Influencers here, I'm referring to the people who read news for them. The people who read news for them, the radio presenters, they really trust them. So as information was being cascaded through different formats, through TikTok, it started on TikTok, it went to WhatsApp, it went to Facebook, websites, But WhatsApp links was being used to push down the information. However, it works well. These age groups, they really adapt very fast to the different formats. But for the groups in the rural areas who are very vulnerable, they need backing of the presenters. They need to hear it from the people that they trust, including the religious leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, please continue, especially with regard to the social media platforms that we are likely to get more accurate information from, and the social media platforms that we need to be a little bit more careful when interacting with the information on those platforms.
Okay. The other thing is, at first when we were starting this research, we really thought that we'd followed up the way information started from. You remember Mercy Tarus from Wasingishu? Then Mike Mushiri, and splitting the finance bill into different languages, the finance bill being broken down into pictorial formats. There was murals. You saw the graffiti. I even listened to music. I love music. There was some hip-hop music that came out of it. It was, trying to put it into different formats that appeal to the different teams. So what came out of there, at first we really thought that, the finance bill is what took people to the streets. But when we spoke to different teams, when we spoke to different people, then that's when we realized that the shoe is really pinching. People are frustrated, and for a long time, it's not been possible. I think the generations before that, the training was, you are rewarded for following the rules. These are generations that were not, they didn't grow up questioning the system. In fact, I don't know how many of you, your names made it to the noisemakers list, but as we speak right now, this is a generation that is awake. They are not afraid to ask questions. And that really highlighted the mismatch in communication between government leaders and the public, because they are trying to express something, they're trying to express how unhappy they are, and that is coming out even through the sentiments that are there on social media. If you look at the keywords there versus what is happening on the ground, there is actually a match. If you compare this year and last year there was still an expectation that maybe the opposition or another group is coming to fix these problems. They will tear them. They'll fight for them. But this time around, people took matters into their own hands, and it was coming out even during the sentiments. So that is the other thing that came out. The other thing that came out was for innovators. I know a lot of work. I know things like ChatGPT, the Finance Bill GPT. It was popular among others, but for this to work, I think it will need a collaborative effort and an approach of not leaving anyone behind, including those that perhaps people assume do not care, or maybe because they're not on this platform, they're not able to engage. But the approach that came out from the findings is leaving no one behind, and that means, if it means packaging the information in a format that will make sense to them, then so be it. The other thing that came out from the findings is a need for collaboration. For sustainability, I think there's need for collaboration so that we can be able to have some fact-driven mechanisms. I think among us here, there are people who are very, very good in technology, innovations, and they can really help to push down information. And even the influencers, they can be able to, people believe them, even the digital ones. There are people who follow them and believe what they say. So if they collaborated, for instance, with somebody who understands a bill, or somebody who is able to, somebody who's able to make a change, then there'll be more impact. So I think what I'm trying to say in many words is, for sustainable change, we'll need to work collaboratively. I have so many points that, Wanjiru, I might use up all your time.
Yes. So, no, Thank you very much, Barbara. We'll get back to you. And thank you for bringing out the fact that there was a lot of collaboration. And a lot of the organizing happened online and continues to happen online, of course, led by activists and poets and the creative, and the entire creative industrial complex. And so my question to you, Mark, would be, since a lot of it was done on social media and continues to be amplified on social media, and seeing that you do a lot of social media listening, what do we need to understand, particularly about the platforms? Where do we go when we want to amplify? What do we need to be careful of? What is going on within?
Yeah, thank you. And sorry, happy to be here. So firstly, I'll give a different take on what you said as to whether this was happening before. I'll disagree that it wasn't happening before. I'm going to age myself right now, okay? Because Facebook started, I know, you guys are looking at me like, Facebook, he's about to talk about Facebook. Is he serious? Facebook started in the year that the song, Hello, Hello, Nataka Kuongea na Mariko, won a Kisima Award. And that's probably going to sound like Greek, except if you're a millennial, but that is the year 2004. That's how old Facebook is. To this day, Facebook is still the largest social network in Kenya, even among 18 to 24-year-olds. The reason for that is because there's a version of Facebook called Free Facebook. If you haven't used it, it's not for you. Let's just start there. If you have an iPhone, it's definitely not for you. It doesn't exist for iPhones. But the reason I start that is because when we show you the data, which is what we do at Nendo, the research we do, you find that there are so many interesting parts to social media that are unexpected, that 18 to 24-year-olds are still very big, say, on Facebook to this day. Now, if we go back, way back, in the year 2011, 5 years after the National Peace Accord was signed, does anyone here, and I think I've made eye contact with a few hands that might raise, does anyone here remember a hashtag Kenya Feb 28th? Anyone? Anyone? Oh gosh, there's no hands coming up. Well, anyway, if you think this is the first time that the flag and the anthem have been used as part of, I don't want to say protest, but as part of an online movement, that was one of the first times. 1 p.m., 28th February, and people with very, very fuzzy camera phones captured Kenyans singing the national anthem. Wherever you are, the rugby teams did it at Impala. It was all sorts of people all over, CBD, schools, just all over. So I just give that to show that there are times where the same artifacts being reclaimed now and being used, I think that's happened. 2012, medics are on strike with the government. The minister says that people are crying for sweets, peremende, in a negotiation. Something called the Peremende movement starts. So when you see Occupy MOH in July this year, back over a decade ago, the same thing was happening. Even if you look to 2015, the first mention of Occupy Playground, right? Langata, let me just say Langata Road area and leave it there. But the point I say with that is that there have been instances, there was tear gas here, there was miners involved, there was lots of media cameras and protesters. Now, even this year, and this is a trick question now, outside of June, there was a time where there was national protests, political leaning figures were not allowed or involved. It happened in dozens of counties, over 10,000 people on the streets, and a hashtag. Can anybody guess what that was in 2024? That's right, before June, before anything to do with the finance bill.
Anyone?
Huh? Yes, correct.
Yes.
Total shutdown KE, also known as end femicide KE. All right? It followed, according to our research, the same exact playbook. I don't think you have June without that particular, and this was in our first, if you just look for Nendo reports, you'll find all the stuff I'm talking about they're available on our website with all of the data. So I say that because sometimes we forget that they are historical precedents. Now, even last year's finance bill caused a lot of uproar. Why? Because of this thing you might have heard called the housing levy. And now you have obviously a lot more. This year, part of what the data was telling us and our team made it different was the motor vehicle tax. That motor vehicle tax sounds very innocent or random, but some of what I'd call the talking heads who went on TV, there's so many TikTokers who took it so personally. The way people talk down to people, we're not talking to you, we're talking to people with cars. And it's like, it was so rude and condescending and so out of touch. And then for the people who did have cars, what's another 50,000 to you? And so there was a lot there. Again, this is just what the data says, mainly from X. But you fast forward now, and the data that we've seen, you count all the major hashtags. At least on TikTok alone, you're talking about over 2 billion, with a B, 2 billion views, right? And that is, at least for us, unprecedented. Even the last election didn't have what I'd call a unified voice in that way. So I say all of this because I think social media sometimes surprises us because it's this sleeping giant. And so if you take TikTok, for example, how many of you know about the special TikTok data bundle? Just raise your hand if you know what I'm saying. Thank God. Okay, more hands. So for those of you who didn't raise your hands or you don't know, there's a special bundle available on mobile network operators of all colors, but mainly of one color that I shall not discuss. It's the color of the exit sign at the back of the room. And for 10 shillings, 10 shillings. There's a place in this in this city that you'll struggle to eat, for 10 shillings. But for 10 shillings, you'll get 1 gigabyte of TikTok-only data. And that is a game changer. Because if you go across the country, it's the reason why, according to us, from years past, but there's other reasons too, TikTok has been the fastest growing social network. It's the most, what I'd call, one of the most inclusive. It's still smaller than Facebook, but you look at the presence of rural, peri-urban, and Kenyans of all walks of life and backgrounds. And for me, I know, the president got on X Spaces, or formerly Twitter Spaces, but you don't have a situation like June without TikTok. And so for me, I think that's also one of the unexpected insights is that, on TikTok you have vernacular TikTok, right? Music, dances, comedy, politics. You also have, of course, the interests, your Ombachi's food. So you have music talk, book talk, comedy talk, etc. And so that's the thing. I think TikTok especially, one of the ones that Nendo observed this time around was what we call activist talk. So if you've been on TikTok or you've created there before, you might have sadly encountered something that people call 200 view jail. You're dancing, you're lip syncing, you're responding to all the challenges, you're doing everything that a content creator is supposed to do, but you can't break past 200 views. Your content is on fire, your ring light is nice, you're doing everything, but you can't break through. Sometimes that happens. According to us, one of the things that surprised us from the data as well, from TikTok, was people who became activists and saw their content just skyrocket. They go to the office of the Auditor General, they pick a county, they come, green screen, hey guys, I want to take you into this county and see what we did. They take somebody and how they voted, on the finance bill. Let me tell you about the last 5 bills that this person's voted on. They were what we call the online Auditor General, or the digital DCI in some ways. And all of that now has emerged a new class of creator. In fact, some of them were previously lifestyle, they were doing other things. Of course, the threat or the fear of abductions or personal harm also comes in, but there's so much we can say about social media from the data and also from the rest of the insights.
Fantastic. Any questions so far before we proceed? We're good? We're good? I feel like I'm talking to myself. We're good? All right, fantastic. Thank you. We've begun, I know a lot of these conversations, we like to focus on social media, but there's also something to be said about mainstream media. So we're talking about TV and radio. And so my question to you, Nyongesa, obviously because of where you work and what you do, What would you say about the trends, especially when it comes to TV and radio, and what does that look like, and where does the media take it from there? I mean, in light of what is going on TikTok and Facebook, where does the media go? Where does the public go? Is it social media? Is it mainstream media? What does that look like?
All right. So I'll also give a bit of background about media, mainstream media, and all of us are aware about what mainstream media is. Mnakumbuka wakati KBC, Sauti ya, Voice of Kenya, right? There was the only channel that was around, and it used to open at 5 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning with the national anthem, then closes again at around 5 in the morning.
Sorry, please tell them what opening is. I don't think they understand.
Oh, at the start of the show or the TV, it open up, and just come on. When you put on your TV, it comes on, and it's the national anthem first, then the rest of the programming till the late in the night, then also closes with the national anthem. But that again we've moved away from that. We used to have only one publication, then a newspaper, and one radio station. But right now, the specials has really grown. We have more than 100 publications. We have more than 180, TV stations that people are watching on digital spaces. We have a lot of places where people are going for information. So to your question, is most people are getting the information from social media. Yeah. But again, after getting it from social media, still, some of us of my age will still go back to the news in the evening and want to confirm exactly what social media said. And I think also now on retrospect, or on the flip side, you'll find that this mainstream media is doing catch up to the social media. And remember, I'll give an example of when the general of the police died. What happened? The information was already out there in the social media, but the mainstream media took a lot of time to give it to the public. And I think sometimes, yes, there's that danger of waiting for too long to give that information, but again, there's also that bit of verification of that information before they air it. On that aspect, we are looking at the issues of trust in the media and also credibility of the media. Because again, the mainstream media is, will always do the breaking news, but follow up with facts about that. But again, that sometimes in social media misses out because most of us want to be the first to break the news. And it feels very good when you're the first one to break news because you get the views, you get the eyeballs, and you're good to go. But mainstream media is where people now are going for the factual or accurate information. And sometimes the media misses it, because of where they're getting that information, the sources. But again, in most cases, in most instances, they've been able to get it right.
All right, thank you for that context. The thing I'm curious about, and I think the reason that we're having this conversation is so that we can talk about information trends. Now that we've laid the foundation for the media and social media, there have been very interesting trends that have made the public turn into fact checkers, debunkers, and pre-bankers. We had strategies like Aura for Aura, where we began, messaging on social media. Then we have government-allied accounts, reporting or having like a misinformation campaign against what was going on. And so my question, especially to you, Nyongesa, as a fact checker, do you foresee any challenges with these expressions of resistance, which I call them expressions of resistance, and where do you think the public needs help in fact checking, or how could you work with the public to make sure that even if we are using these forms of expression as resistance, how far can we go and how can we be supported? Like, what does that, that propaganda war look like? So we can start with you, Nyongesa, then we move over to Mark.
Right. So how it's looking, it's very interesting. And for me, as Mark said, it has over time continued to metamorphosize. Did I say it rightly? Metamorphosize, change over time. And depending again on very circumstantial, because as at now, I've seen a lot of silhouettes going around. I don't know if you've seen them. And I'm not saying who they're targeting, but again, you've seen a lot of that on social media. And that will continue happening. The thing is, it's a very fast-moving space, where again, playing catch-up again will be very hard for some people, and especially, I'll say, government. because again, at the rate at which all of us are going, it's very fast. And that again provides a challenge, and especially for government, because in terms of legislation and developing laws and guidelines on how to use social media, again becomes a challenge. And you look at it again, AI has really come in very big time, and also it's also changing how people are consuming and generating information. And now to what you asked about, now what do we do? I think the best is, as users of social media, there's need for us to check at where are we getting that information, and how are we using it? How informed is the people who are getting that information? Are they able to consume it in a way that it's easily accessible? How accessible it is, and how can we be able to ensure that information that is shared reaches the target audience? And one thing that also I've noted is the danger again is the bit of very restrictive laws, yeah? That would, of course, the law again provides sections in terms of, freedom of expression, but again, it restricts that in the way, how we, in terms of content moderation. How is that information, when you're getting that information, how best are you able to do and use it to be able to impact other people? And, in terms of content moderation, they want to ensure that information as you receive it, there's ability for you to be very responsible in how you're using that information. Laws are there to help guide, but again, sometimes they can be very restrictive, and there's need for us to be, continually build capacities for people to be responsible users of social media spaces when going forward.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
May I add a
Yes,
comment?
please. Yeah.
I like what Nyongesa has said. There's need for us to, these are the new platforms that are coming up, and there's need for people to be educated so that there's that digital literacy, and so somebody is empowered enough to be able to censor. At least I'm sure for this, everybody who is in this room, you can quickly identify a Photoshop if you're given that these people maybe were found in a compromising situation. I think you won't fall for it as easily. So that empowerment that you have, suppose that the larger masses have it, then I think it will really help. The other thing that I just realized when you're speaking, Nyongesa, is there was an appeal with this protest. It was nice to be associated with it. We are using, nice new technologies. You are the first to break out information, as you've explained. You have bragging rights. We look good. In fact, I think there was even the people who didn't make it to the streets were being, called out, and the people who are not in Nairobi kind of felt left out, to the point that business communities and those who have muscles wanted to find out where can we plug in to support this. So I think with that comes the need for if you are an influencer, because I think for digital platforms, it's influencers who carry this message. I think they are a good target group to be educated so that, even if it's a platform you own or you are the one who speaks in person, then there's some form of fact checking, knowing how much influence somebody would have. So let me add another one, but I don't want to eat into Mark's time.
All right, so Mark, in the war against propaganda and misinformation, how do we win? Like as the public, as the people, and also as democracy, how do we win?
Wow, you became me like the...
How do we win?
Jeez. Okay.
Mark, may I just finish what I wanted to say?
Yeah, please, let me think about that one.
Okay. What I wanted to say, Wanjiru, was, you see, it was, you know that thing about what is being rewarded? If you are the first to break news, regardless of whether it is correct or inaccurate, and you are rewarded for it with likes and numbers and followers, then perhaps, why don't we also reward the person who is able to clarify that this is the truth? Why, how does it normally work? If you go to an environment, look at what is being rewarded, and it's a way of just trying to guide the kind of behavior that is desirable. So I don't know who's rewarding the truth. You can be truthful and the system doesn't reward you. So you keep quiet with your truth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember from our media days, people like the man bites dog. The dirtier, the better. Yeah. So if you're truthful, be entertaining.
If you're truthful, be entertaining. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I think the first thing we forget about this question is that there's no incentive for the truth to prevail. Each one of these platforms, the second the platform is free to you and to me, that means we are the product. And one of my favorite, you'll forgive me, one of my favorite ways of illustrating this is, you have, it's Christmas time, there's a goat, and a sheep, and a cow, and they're just talking to each other saying, you know what, don't you love this? We get free food, free accommodation. They're just talking to each other that we have the best deal in the house. And yeah, that's until about Christmas time. So pardon the, but there's this idea that if it's free, you are the product. You're the one who's being bought, sold, and traded, and so is your attention. And one of the best places to see this is how X, formerly known as Twitter, how it's changed to focus on what people call rage bait. Can I enrage you? Can I get you misinformed or disinformed? As long as I get you to hang around my content a bit more, or what we call rage retweeting. One of the most interesting stats we'd seen from just during the protests was done by the team at Shujaz, and their research was showing that one of the most popular ways to participate at the time, if you were not physically at the protests, was what was called the online protests. And there was just this very intense way that people were just sharing. And so when we did one of our first reports at Nendo, which again is on our website, etc., I think it was something like 2 to 3%, I'll pull it up, that were actually creating them. But vast majority of people were just sharing. So even within like 10 minutes of a post, you're like, how does it have 500 retweets? But it's because anyone who has anything but, a few seconds is just, really hitting that button. And some people then took advantage. And even till now, there's a couple accounts that are really strategically building up clout and attention. And if you know how X works nowadays, formerly known as Twitter, they pay you for engagement regardless of checking whether it's true or not, regardless of checking whether it's factual or not. They don't care. They care about you increasing attention and watch time on their platform at anyone and everyone's expense. When Elon Musk fired the trust and safety team, that means there are people who trade in misinformation, and that's just part of what they're doing, sometimes at your expense, but you're contributing towards that. So because we are the ones with a dollar and cent value on top of all these platforms, there's no incentive for the truth to prevail, to be honest. That's one of the challenges of now. However, I think if I ask, like some of the data at Nando we've seen, if I go back to maybe TV and radio, July this year, according, just to some data points we were triangulating, was one of the best times for TV and radio in regular, what we call appointment viewing since the election. So people who didn't even watch news like that. In fact, we have some TikToks in one of our presentations where you see one TikToker saying, I've become my mother. And, she's got the bonnet and a cup of tea. She turns on the news and, closes her robe and sits down and sort of says, let's see what the nation is saying. Because there was a rewiring a bit at that time to say, mainstream media has to set the agenda. Even when news was breaking, some of the most important, what I'd call inflection points in the data. You look, there was a mainstream media story related to protesters, abductions, killings. And when that story, which had to take time, when it broke, it just re-energized. People then organized off of that. So I still think it has a place, even though, of course, they're really struggling with advertisers. You can say that viewership is at a really high level. In terms of like propaganda, you're always going to get multiple sides of the coin because it's an equal offense opportunity online. And so there are people with multiple incentives either to distract you and deflect from what's really happening. If you remember even the Adani situation, at first it seemed like such a small drop in the ocean compared to everything else, only to become a major story that had multiple levels, of elected officials sitting, having hearings, and becoming a national conversation. And that was, the whistleblower. That's a person on X, a person on Twitter. So I think the challenge right now is it's really hard to discern the truth. And for some, I'd say Kenyans, they're just finding ways to just check out a bit, check back in, but it's very easy to be misled because there's even a story in The Nation, I won't get into the details, where a journalist came back and shared what the true situation was, and people abused the journalist. Like, they genuinely went and said, what's wrong with you? I didn't even want to know the truth. This hit the spot for me, and this confirmed everything I wanted, and you're trying to say that it's different. I don't care, and I'm not sharing it. And I was surprised because the truth in that case was that Kenyans had this fiction in their minds about two very prominent political figures, and the truth was just not as nice to hear because it was easier to believe the lie, and it was more enticing to sort of live in the mystery of that. So that's the challenge of our times. It's not as simple and black and white.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Before we get to the last remarks, any questions from the audience? Any remarks, comments, anything? Just two people. Anyone? Yes?
My question is in regard to mainstream media, and just wondering whether it can be used as a tool for the revolution if it's being infiltrated by the system itself. Because at the end of the day, even if most people were watching news during that time, we were only watching it mostly so that we can see the responses. But it was very clear that a lot of things were not being covered as they were. You can even see live streams of the protests. They were not being covered as they were. So then, can mainstream media really be a weapon for us to use in the revolution, or is it the enemy? And when you talk about educating influencers, are you talking about educating them, or are you talking about molding them in a way that is fit for the system? Because that's what we're dismantling. So then why are we educating them in the same system that we're trying to destroy? Ni passion.
So that's for me. The two questions? All right. So I'll pick on the mainstream media, whether it can be trusted. And maybe I'll give they say throwing a spanner in the works and look at who owns the media. Yeah? Because now when you're talking about what comes out of that media house, looks at who owns that media. And if you look at the history of Kenya, the different media houses are owned by different people. I'll not mention them, but all of us maybe know or we don't know. But most of these media houses are owned by politicians. And there's always an agenda they want to throw at us and do not drive along. And for us, we're just consumers. So I think for us, it's just to be woke and to really look at it. Who owns this media? And what is that the agenda they want to push? I'll give an example. If you read one of the free newspapers, not really free, not Paper Daily, but the one along Wayaki Way, they've been continually saying shisha is working. Yeah? Yeah, well, yeah. It's working. But when you go to the ground, that thing is not working. And when you go back and look at who owns that media, it tells you exactly where the agenda is being set. So ideally is for us, yes, the media, there's a good media, there's people who are very credible, and now that calls again for editorial independence. How journalists in that media house can stand for truth and protect and ensure that, the rights of the public are advocated at the expense, of the media house. Because again, one, a journalist maybe want to protect their work, their job, have a family to feed. If I do something that is contrary to what my media house says, then I lose my job. But again, the media still is the go-to place. We'll get it from this, as you said, social media, but again, it's a place that we can go for facts and accurate information And sometimes, looking at where who butters your bread, they decide what content will come to you. So, yeah. Any?
The final question, unfortunately, because of time. Any other?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Geoffrey Mboya, and I just want to particularly just make a comment, because my question has just been raised. I think citizen journalism did an amazing work during the entire period of the protest, particularly with the case of some issues that were emerging, like the Kware murders, where there's so many distorted information that were even being reported by mainstream media. There was this one where they talked about a woman having a dream and being led to the quarry. This is, I'm someone who grew up in Mukuru and was involved with that exercise. This was something that was hugely reported by mainstream media, but on the ground, nothing, completely. So how can we, how can we discern such information, especially when it's highly reported by mainstream media? Because the guys who did verify and actually came on ground to interview the community members and the people who were involved with the retrieval exercise, they were citizen journalists. So how are we able to discern such information when it's highly spread and it's already garnered a lot of traction across countrywide, and it's even a problem to bring up another subject of discussion around that topic?
Yeah, I think I can take that. I think maybe just to start with, take both comments, I think, in one. Yes. Okay, so so I think the first thing is the difference between mainstream media and digital media is reach. Because we'll all take out our phones, but our algorithms will all look different. Some will get comedy, others will get humor. It'll get your taste. So for that reason, just because we are all on TikTok does not mean we're all seeing the same things. That's the challenge, is how fractured and how personalized digital media is. Mainstream is single-minded. It's just one agenda and whatever's floated up. I'm no apologist for mainstream media. They have their flaws, they have their weaknesses, they're hemorrhaging cash, they're shutting down, they've not paid salaries for a long time, etc. So it's not a bed of roses there. But at some point, between the government and mainstream media, they sort of lost touch, right? When the government created something called the Government Advertising Agency, they basically put all the funding the government would have in one place and decided when to turn on and turn off the tap. And that now started control. And then now where things are, there's all these debts that are sort of saddling many of these mainstream media ones. So to make no mistake, mainstream media played, I'd call it a secondary but influential role. There's no substitute for what happened on phones, on screens, and even verbally around the protests, and nothing will ever change that. It's just that there was a way when things would begin to die down, mainstream media had enough time for some of the stories to actually be researched, be fact-checked, be sort of, fought for. And when they came out, they sort of reignited the base, if you will, or just citizens out there. And that's, at least from the data we've seen that we've got on our website, in our reports, that's what we've seen. So they deserve some credit, but you're right, they deserve just as, quite a degree of the blame, because they had every political rally carrying a lot of the same dangerous rhetoric. So they are institutionally, sort of a double-edged sword in that way, but there's a way that they played a unique role that I think can't be shaken. So they're a business that's not doing very well, and there's no telling what happens, but I would put it this way. Of the 10 most searched for terms on YouTube in Kenya of the last 1 year, an orange-colored television station is arguably 3 out of those 10. That means that on even smart TVs and tablets and everywhere you look, when people are getting on YouTube, they're looking for the news. And they might not say it or admit it, but that's just very matter of fact with where things are now. So that's one of the challenges, is that the media has sort of they used to be very close to government. There's no denying that legacy. Then obviously there's been things that are fractured. Oh, just exactly what Nyongesa said, the political ownership. So it depends which side you're on. But they have to sell, like Barbara has been saying, they have a product to present and sell. And it typically sells off of emotion. And so they play that trade while playing multiple sides. And I don't envy them at all, because when I talk to them, it's really, really tough sledding.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, but because of time, we have to really cut it short. But my closing remarks would be, I know we are all angry, as we should be, but then sometimes when we're not sure whether the information is right or wrong, like Mark has said, they rely a lot on our emotions. So sometimes when you feel overly angry, like irrationally angry, then be a little bit careful. Or sometimes when you feel overly excited, more than your normal human range of excitement, then be a little bit more careful. If you feel overly overly afraid, beyond the human range of fear, then be a little bit more careful. Thank you very much. And also please take care of yourself digitally. If you feel like you need to, step back and take a breather and then come back, please do that. Thank you so much, and let us just give a round of applause to the panelists. Thank you, thank you.
We can keep that round of applause going. I don't know if you guys have ever been on panels, but walking out is usually very awkward if people are just watching. So that's a very brave walk. It's a walk of brave. It's like the opposite of a walk of shame. But anyone who had panel on a Friday evening on their bucket list, tick it off tonight. We fulfilled that, right? Sawa sawa. And now we're going back to the poetry. Thank you so much to our panel. Thank you so much, Monjuro, and for all of you for engaging. What we're about to do now is take a very short break, 10 minutes. Remember, earlier on, for those who were here, we said we put a pause on the cocktails and we put a pause on the coffee. Now you need them, because we're about to go on a marathon of just poets. You won't even see me that much. I'll just be coming here, name out, rhymes. Tunaenda kwenda. Sawa sawa? All right, so, and as we do that, before you make your orders, I'll just remind you, the washrooms outside to your left, past the lifts or elevators. Gents is the left and ladies is the right. If you've encountered your ex here or someone from online that you insulted and now you don't have the courage to face them in real life, the emergency exit is behind you. To the left. Okay, you're facing me. So behind you to the right. Sawa sawa? You can use it for fires as well, but mostly exes and people from online. If you need to smoke, downstairs towards the gate, but please do come back. All right? Asanteni sana. For people watching from home, we're about to take a break. This is the time ya kwenda kuangalia kama umezima gas. And then be back in 10 minutes. All right? Thank you. Hello, 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 hello. It's your very temporary host, back again. If you're still getting your drink, that's cool. Keep getting it. Just tone down dial your volume kidogo. If you're not at the counter, please have your seat. We're about to go into the fire section of this evening. If you're Dana Seda, you can stop having that conversation. And if you're someone similar to Dana Seda, do the same thing. So we're doing, right before I introduce the next act, one of the things that has jumped out of that panel is just how much the news has become something of an age indicator. Number one, you watch news kama wazazi wetu with one of your arms behind your back. And number two, the people who actually watched TV wakati ilikuwa inafunguliwa or listened to radio, and we're going to try something. Please do not be proud of your age. I'm gonna do something, and if you know it, please do it with me. Sawa sawa? All right, it goes something like this. Ilikuwa ya nini? Who recognized that? What's that? Ah, fantastic. What does anyone remember anywhere it was used on the media? KBC, right before the news, right? 3 people. Hao wengine wote, Easy FM, Kiss, Homeboys. Oh, that's good. That's still good. To our people watching at home, I hope you confirmed Pass Yaiko on, Gas Yaiko on. Welcome back. I hope you have your drink because it's about to go down. And now, kutoka huko nyuma, please start a round of applause. Coming towards the front. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're gonna keep it going because I'm about to call on stage one of the most fascinating and brilliant artists I've ever encountered. And I'm saying that because we're from the same village. Mulima ikiguzwa tunakonga tumeshikwa hapa. All right? Please give another round of applause to Dofanage.
Who's touching the damn mountain? Well, I hear some people claiming it, but I have the best view of it. Like I come from Timau, we have the best view of the mountain. You know, that's something I can brag about. Yeah, but it's being claimed a lot these days. I don't know how far it extends. But at least I know, mahali natoka naiguza tu hivi. Mrima. Ukiangalia hivi unaona wanasema Batian kuna hizo Nelio nini. Had to be British names actually like. Yeah. Kuna wakati wa kujifunza na wakuu wa mkufunzi. Wakati wa kuunganisha na wakuu wa mchochezi. Wakati wa kubembeleza na wakuu wa mchokozi. Wakati wa utumishi na wakuu wa kiongozi. Wakati wa utumwa na wakuu wa mkombozi. Natumai kujifunza ukufunzi. Natamani kuunganisha wachochezi. Nitajaribu kubembeleza wachokozi. Nitajitolea kuwa kiongozi mtumishi. Nitajituma kuwa mkombozi. Mimi kama msanii. Nitajitahidi katika hatua zinazowezesha kukua kwa jamii. Naahidi kusumbua kwa sanaa hii kama inamaanisha kusonga hatua kwa jamii. Na hapa kuwa msanii. Na hapa mwaka 2023 mwezi wa 9 ni usiku saa 6. Msanii amejiekelea kwa bedsitter akose lonesome abode kwa wale wanashika. Anajaribu kumake sense ya haya maisha. Yeye ni nani? Ameapa kwa msanii ndio, but kwa hii dunia hiyo ina maana gani? How comes wengine wako tu eager kusherekea kufika, but kwake ni muhimu zaidi kujua atatumia njia gani? Mbona ameshindwa kupea historia kisogo kama wengine? Mbona anajipata kiegemea kushoto wakati dunia mzima inalenga pande nyingine? Could that be kuna something to do na wakati na mahali alimezaliwa? For a moment anajiona kwa slopes za Kirimara Timau, akiomboleza what remains of the fading ghost ya Maumau. Somehow alisikia jina Mwaria Mau totoni na kuisahau. What are the odds that mamake experienced labor 89 Madaraka? Could it be that path ilikuwa scripted from the start? Vile sunset ya Mwaria na sunrise yake zilikuwa 5 months apart. In his quest ya kujaribu kubridge present na past, anajipata kitafakari cost ya betrayal. Venye usaliti ugeuza baraka kwa kasi. Anajiuliza nyoka mgani wasi? Huyu mnyama mwenye sumu yake Mwaria alinyonya ikamada, ama huyu mwingine wa miguu miwili mwenye alingoja Mwaria akapigania uhuru alafu akajinyakulia mashamba? Mbona matunda ya uhuru 63 yaligeuka mashaka 64, Mwaria kujipata jela? Na masikitiko 65, Baimungi kuuliwa kata si ya mtu alikuwa anaita Fadhela. 60 years later bado ni ufala. Since hizo 60s bado tunalia ufukara. Majority wamesota na kuna watu bado ni squatters. DM Karaoke alikam correct kwa utabiri. From 10 millionaires, sasa tuko 50 billionaires na 50 million beggars. Sio siri. Akitafsiri, msanii ana feel kama Mwaria akikagua mwili wa Baimungi generali, machozi yakimlenga kwa macho. Akijiuliza kama walipigana msituni dhidi ya mzungu miaka 12 ndio wakuje kuishia hivi kwa mikono ya Afrika mwenzao. Ni madharau. Mbegu ya uhuru kumeshwa na damu ya Maumau, lakini mashabiki na wanao ndo bado wanavuna mazao. Kidogo msanii abebwa na ghadhabu, anakumbuka sababu alikula kiapo cha usanii ndio sisahau ndoto ya mababu. Lakini kusema kweli si eti yako na jawabu kwa kila tatizo. Lakini anajua bila ukweli hakuna uwezekano wa kupata suluhisho. Bila ukweli tutaendelea kuishi kwa kosa na tutawahi na mwisho. Bila ukweli tutazidi kuwa not yet huru. Hata wajukuu wa Jaramogi wakipata wajukuu waanze kuitwa shosho. Mwaka 2024 mwezi wa siku zinasonga na miezi inazidi kupita. Bado msanii amejiekelea kwa bedsitter. Ni usiku saa 9. Msanii anazidi kuhangaika. Anajaribu ku make sense ya haya maisha. So essentially, I think with that piece, the title for that piece is Taswira, kuvuta taswira, like, and essentially it's just I wrote it last year. You know, I didn't know the maandamano zitakuja. I didn't know tutauliwa kwa streets. I didn't know survive water cannons, bullets, and everything else. But I think I couldn't create during that whole period. I couldn't write anything because every time I made an attempt to write in a field, like deja vu, yani, because I've written about these things for the last decade, right? And so for me, it was triggering all along because I know I can, like locate a line or a piece in my catalog that I know that is talking about exactly these things, But it's unfortunate, that we had to bury some of us. It's unfortunate that people had to be abducted, just because they wanted to be listened to, just because they had some demands, just because they were trying to be active citizens. It's unfortunate that all that happens within those 2 months, June, July, almost feels like didn't happen because these guys are literally like, throwing around the middle finger and asking us, Mtadu, they are undoing everything, we died for. Honor. And I wrote this piece in 2020, inaitwa BBI, but it's not BBI as you know it, ni Blinding Blocks Incorporated, which is what I feel like BBI was, which is what this all broad-based business is, it's people serving their own interests, at our expense, right? We're the one paying the cost. Yeah, and so I was reflecting on what really means like to have a constitution that was at that time 10 years old. I was like a decade older than 2010 constitution, right? And even now we're still arguing about the implementation of it. So it seems the more mambo yana change, the more yana stay the same. Ni kama tuko 2005 tena. Tofauti ni bananas na oranges na share basket same. Ni kama tuko 1992 tena. Tofauti ni kano tax ndo wenye viti na tendencies ni zile shame. Wananchi shtuka. Ukisikia yet more referendum calls. To rival teams wakianza build bridges, broaden bases and all, most likely ushafanya your substitution. Public participation ni aftermath, but ya wao make decisions. Any further contribution kutoka kwako ni ornamental. At this stage, pages za constitution ni tissue kwa watu waliapa kuenforce legislations. Mission tena si kuchunga umati. Kamati na orders mpya za kufanya subtraction kwa haki zako na kumake additions kwa interests za corporations. Haki wengao, lakini mlinzi ni wao. Commission iko committed kufanya mission ya truth. Ni confusion na contradiction venye kila mmoja na claim innocence, lakini bodyguards wako armed to the truth. Looters wanatuzwa, lakini justice ni extrajudicial kwa slums. Moms wakiomboleza sons ni uncouth. Appointments na tenders kwa pretenders. Babu ya mtu bado ni youth. Employment na ni competition, barata na masters au qualify kwa contender. Juu baba ya mtu bado ana rule. Na rule of law iko above all, but below some. So nini option? Kama uko bound kuuliwa kabla uone court doors. Ni rahisi kwa polisi kuchukua sheria in their own hands kama rais anazidi kuflaunt court orders in his own land. Wananchi shtuka. Kama mtu anaweza tumia pesa alikuibia kujilipia bail. Shtuka. Casanova alipigia devolution debi akaanza kulia imefail. Question, mbona kuna unanimous demand for more funds but less transparency kwa paper trail? Shtuka. Mtu alikuwa against 2/3 gender rule akigeuka proponent of the blues juu repercussion ni baby boo kwa beneficiary juu alia company muhesh diani kwa kilenda ya ocean. Tumegonga zaidi ya 10 years baada ya kuspend billions kubadilisha constitution, lakini bado tuko in limbo kwa preamble tukistruggle na implementation. hata kama msitu ni tofauti, bado nyani ni wale wale. Siku nyingine na mambo ni yale yale. Hali tofauti na matendo ni yale yale. Nyani wale, mambo yale, na matendo yale yale. Tunajivunia kwa democracy kwa katiba. Ratiba ina change time ya succession, hereditary politics, statistics zikipikwa kusupport narratives za royalty, disloyalty, elected faces kuvua mask baada ya kupeana false promises, nemesis, beneficiary umaskini kupewa kazi kusaka solutions za eradicate poverty, puppetry, venye strings zinakuwa pool constitutional violations zikifanyika ndani ya corridors za power, twisted priorities, taxpayer kutolewa kafara in the name of protecting property, proprietary, nation iko under auction to the deepest pockets, kuchukua necessary loans kuanzisha phantom projects. Utadhani infantry venye economic hitmen wameshikilia vantage point ndani ya treasury, executive na consecutive blunders, legislature deprived of dentures imeshindwa kuputa stop to plunder, judiciary ni tertiary venye criminals wanazidi kugraduate to freedom, na freedom of speech ni illusion. Kama wana be tyrants ni majority shareholders kwa media houses, no wonder hakuna enough coverage public institutions kiwa rent down na jamii na spouses. Decades later watu Kibera bado wanangoja remedial housing, land bill ilizamishwa ndani ya still waters, na bado tunazidi kucreate IDPs na squatters. Justice ni taboo subject, but the main object of discussion kwao ni vile peace ni important. Walitumada na wakati ya billboards ati peace is important, sio? Right? Tumegonga 10 years and more baada ya kuimplement constitution, lakini bado tuko in limbo kwa preamble tukistruggle na implementation. Wananchi chunga, tusijipate tumegonga 10 more on top of hizo 10 tumepoteza, kama bado tuko in limbo kwa preamble tukistruggle kuitekeleza. Wananchi chunga, wananchi chunga sana.
Makofi kwa msanii tafadhali. Makofi kwa bedsitter pia. Yeah, that's my village mate. Maze ukizaliwa Tima, ukizaliwa place Mwariama lived. Kuandika kuhusu mapenzi ni ngumu bwana. Unainua kalamu tu revolution, revolution. That was Dauphin. The artist I'm about to introduce next is a wonderful friend of mine. Excellent, excellent filmmaker, photographer, poet, someone who's so good, so good. He has a hater who created an account to hate on him. Do you know how good you have to be for someone to have an extra account? Please. He also reminds me of someone, and that's because he's part of half of a production that's coming up on the 7th of December called You Remind Me of Someone. If hizo silhouettes zimekuwa zikimake rounds online na kisogo fulani, mnajua kisogo fulani? If that silhouette reminds you of someone, you need to go to that show, okay? I'll tell you who the other half of that show is, but for now, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folks, put your hands together for Goofy.
Hi. Hello. Nice. My name is Goofy. I'm a performing poet and filmmaker. It's a beautiful time to be a creative in a country that, first, the regimes are very brutal to its citizens, the people who pay taxes, people who keep them wherever they are. And as a creative, I find these times very interesting because it gives you inspiration, like it gives you more material to work with. There's someone who keeps saying that if you're a film writer or a producer and you come and live in Kenya, some of the things that are happening cannot be classified as fiction, that are supposed to be fiction. Just like it's real life, you know? When the bishops come together and say the government should stop abducting people, then all the other ministries come with a statement, you know. I feel like our government should now be called Statement FC, you know. Because it's right there, up there with like Manchester United, you know. Yeah, it's like, yeah, statement after statement. Guys. Wait, Manchester ndio Mrima? Sawa, poleni, staguza. Yeah. So 2 things about me. I was born and raised in Nakuru. I've been living in Nairobi since 2012. And since 2012, I think I've been part of all the major demonstrations or protests that have been happening since that time. And the thing that always gets my eye is, right now we're even more vocal. Like, we have the power of social media behind us. Misinformation can be out there, but then it takes just a few minutes or a few seconds for actual citizens to debunk. Must go akienda aseme, there's a stadium that was built in Wote 6 months ago, and we're just there like, where acha mchezo, sawa? And it's a beautiful thing. So enough with the talk. The piece I'm going to do is called To Live Here, or Lulu. You can check some of my work on all streaming platforms. I have my poetry there. So, yeah. What do people say before they start a piece? Makinika? Mbele yenu. Anyway, let's go. To live here is to live in fear. You don't know if this life is yours. You don't know if you own anything else that isn't your thoughts. Your mind might be the only place that feels like home, but only if you don't share your raging thoughts. Here, the loud ones, the smart ones, the nosy ones, they disappear. Here, the trees in Kikuyu and the bushes in the Mau know more about missing people than the ones who took them here. We wish trees could speak, but they too are being cut down here. Trees wish we could speak, but we too are being gunned down here. We forget names like Willie Kimani, Baby Pendo. Here, you'll be shot whether you are a lawyer, a taxi driver, or unauza nyama pare gara. Here, if you are a young man aged 19 to 22, who likes wearing faded jeans that are torn on the knees and seemingly a good Odi dancer, you'll be shot here. Your death won't mean a thing to a police unit that's funded by your taxes here. Body bags have more work than the youths in this place here. The government eats its own people. 1 minute you're with them, the next you're dead and gone. A moment of silence for Evans Njoroge. To live here is to embody Koleka Putuma. Collective amnesia stays within us here. We forget to count after every 5 years here. Leaders manipulate the votes and pass it out as the voice of the people. People with no voices. People with no choices. People with no health care, no security, or an average life standards. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, the only cues we respect are the ones found along tribal lines. Here, we are one. Foolish people here. Thieves use their loot as manifestos to kickstart their careers here. Thieves appear in top 30, 40, and 50, and the top 30, 40, and 50 here. Golf has more funding than the education kitty. Here, the people can't complain because they are too dead, too abducted, too kidnapped to speak for themselves. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, you have to look right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left, while crossing a one-way road. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, you can get a brain surgery when you checked in with a cold. Here, cartels run a hospital. Here, criminals own a hospital. Here, rapists have a hospital. Here, our mothers have to worry about their newborn and the thoughts of rape as well. Here, we use suggestion boxes to help the rape victims like Dear KNH. Your morgue attendant didn't have time for foreplay. Dear KNH, y'all can take my baby anytime, just don't do that shit behind my back. Dear KNH, You all should standardize the market price. Your nurses sell our babies for dear K&H. I named my baby Advantage so it's easier for you to take it, dear K&H. How many lives have you broken? How many families have you killed? How many more will you continue to take because the people of this country are too broken, too abducted, too killed to speak for themselves? To live here is to learn how to light a candle for the many deaths we invite into our lives. Here, we are quick with instant rage, but we always forget what hurts us the most. Here, we are comfortable with heavy taxation, a rogue police unit, a dormant constitution, partial human rights, a fast-ending forest cover, privately owned killer dams, deaths upon deaths and deaths upon deaths. So tell me, are you proud to live here? Thank you.
Can't add anything more to that. The first time I was at a protest with Goofy, he got arrested. The last time I was at a protest with Goofy, I got arrested. I think I'll just avoid Goofy at protests. It's just. We'll go right into our next act. There are no words to introduce these human beings, so I'll let their work speak for them. So, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folks, people watching at home, please put your hands together for Babo and Modoni.
What you want and what you will, searching for a dollar bill. What you want and what you will, searching for a dollar bill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow and grinding still. Walking home, a youth gets killed. I'm still walking. Walking home, a youth gets killed. Police free to shoot at will. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow and grinding still. 9 to 5, you know the drill. Weekends are a short-lived thrill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still. Cup runneth over till it spill. Take until they've had their fill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow but grinding still.
If you're a thing marked for death, then you're just a dead thing walking. Death is here and done. Then you're here. We're already dead anyway. This is to all of us who've loved countries who will never love us back, to holding on to countries that will never claim us, to identifying with homelands that will never see us, hear us, want us. This is to all of us who've made our hearts into our homes. Our mouths a graveyard, the place promises and vows come to die. Our bodies crime scenes waiting to happen, our feet forever on the run. We died with our hands raised up. We fought and fought. What a way to go. This is to ours, whose homes got swept in political messes. Madare, Kayole, Mukuru, left dangling on our rooftops as angry waters carried away our being. We don't die. We are the people whose rights have always been considered debatable, alienable. For those of us who died with our words in our throats, these freedom songs taste bitter in our tongues, the national anthem and the flag, killed when singing a lullaby. 14 bullets in a 12-year-old body, but the boy is alive, right? This country is a walking contradiction in a sitting joke, and it's not funny. We died for countries that called us foreigners and asked for us to be forgotten, erased, countries that killed our ancestors and named as non-issues, countries built on the blood of our kin, stolen bonds of stolen labor. My people died with their chains around their necks, floating in quarries and shot by snipers. Their hearts, so broken they choked on its pieces, spat and spat blood. Their screams have died in their throats. This is the country of my mother. I died for it in ways I've refused to die for her. I prayed, I begged the Lord for you to come back to me. I've cried myself to sleep and beyond. Nightmares follow me. I've been sitting in the rain, hoping to feel you in the wind, in the water, in the earth, dust to dust. Run,
pray,
atone, beg, bleed, get torn apart. The gods of this land only drink the blood of the young, and their servants feed them consistently and constantly, often and always. So feed them Rex, feed them Evans, feed them David, heck, feed them Pendo. Bodies floating in Yarra and Kwale. What to feed them? Just feed them. Our dreams and ambitions, feed them. Talents of the young, feed them. The joy of the children, feed them. The health of the nation, feed them. The education of the teens, feed them. Families and their homelessness, just feed them. Take from our mouths and feed them. Dialysis patients, cancer patients, feed them. Farmers' fast harvests and livestock, just feed them. This place is barren land. It took our blood and tears and blew dirt back into our faces, took our hearts and crushed them. This place is stale, stinking of broken dreams. This is the state that killed and refused on our corpses.
Dust to dust, when you return.
To die in the city is to die quietly yet violently. Blood leaking through the cracks of progression, feeding into the sound that is development. The turning of wheels, the turning of time, from noon to tomorrow's eve. To die in the city is to wish you had lived, and with your last breath smell the industry to which you so religiously give, and watch them replace you before the warmth fades from your skin. Life goes on. The system must feed. To die in the city is to forget you're a being. Left, right, left. Learn to earn your keep. Here to celebrate a life taken. Send a flower for the bereaved. I don't care how it died, I just don't want to see it. Banana peel rots by the banking district. A dying city. Make money smell like misery in the pot you piss in. Watch your skin fold, eternally livid. Because to die in the city beautiful and dignified only comes with means. Sad in a lone noose with the sheets on which I sleep, forever slumber, I chase release. The doctor gave me painkillers and handed me a bill. Sadness you learn to live with. But never show them you're weak. Never show them you're weak. A doctor's note to say I am healed, to pray to the God of dollars and mints. Eloi, Eloi. To receive, you must give. The little you've got, bring it to me, and I promise to make you rich. A community of ghosts who never feed. To die in the city is to be freed, blended into the noise of ignorant bliss. Your pain never to be seen. You'll sleep when you're dead, face to face with your kin. Here lies Morome and 3 of his cousins, 9, 6, and 3 feet deep. The earth welcomes you to the realm of the free, the cycle of life, time for the worms to feast.
Cup running over till it's spilled. Take until they've had their fill. Sad to see the old slave mill is grinding slow, but grinding still. Pray for the sun.
Sheila.
Prayed it was the last one.
Erica.
Prayed it was undone.
Sharon.
Prayed
Masoti.
it was the last time.
Luyanda.
Prayed
Wangeshi.
for the
Pule.
sun.
Munyai.
Prayed
Deborah Yakubu.
it was the last
Lucy.
one.
Eunice.
Prayed
Ellen.
it was
Valerie.
undone.
Esther. Caroline. Fanny.
The last one.
Caroline Mwatha. Bleed. Fight. Die. Bleed. Fall. Get up. Fight. Die. Rinse. Repeat. Your patriarchal gods asked for our blood, and you slit our throats and left us to bleed out in his altar. Bleed. Fight. Get up. Die. Bleed. Fall. Fight. Die. Rinse. Repeat. 1 out of 3 women has been sexually assaulted, and only 1 out of 20 rape cases are reported. Every hour, 20 women die from domestic violence. 107 women were killed in Kenya in the last 100 days. Nigeria passes the most homophobic bill in Africa, and Ghana pushes for the family bill. In 2022, a renowned gospel singer succumbs to the wounds she got after being assaulted by her husband. The church is quiet. 150,000 school-going girls in Kenya end up pregnant from lack of information and being groomed. The government official says they should have just closed their legs. Like that ever stopped abusers. 100,000 girls in Ethiopia are molested by their fathers. The East African Sexual Reproductive Health Bill is being thrown around as bits of our body autonomy are being picked off the board. Girls are dropping out of school due to period poverty, whilst the government taxes on period products is like that of luxury products. You said you don't hate us, but your actions, they betrayed you. So bleed. Fight. Get up. Die. Rinse. Repeat. These mouths have been a graveyard for too long. For women who never made it home. The screams of terror that died in their throats, these hands have known death intimately. for dreams we held but never became ours. For the broken pieces of our hearts, this body is an active murder scene, a crime scene the police never cared to stop. This body is a walking ghost moving but barely. Host to all the dead things they dumped in us, tiptoeing like a whispering wind, this is a gathering storm, ready to sweep this town bare. You called us to take things you were never willing to give. Dead promises spoken from lying lips. Grow old, we'll give it to you, you said. Speak louder, we'll let you have it, you said. Jump the table, we will listen, you said. 20 years and the Maputo Protocol is still just a paper suggestion to governments eager to silence us. 2024 and children too young to walk already know that sometimes the world rips you apart. Trans women are women, a slogan dead before even the arrival of its owners. Chains are chains even if they're made of gold. The boots on our necks are the same as the ones on yours. They're killing us all, I'm just dying faster. Join us, you said. Run towards, you said. Come here, you said. Trust us, you said. Then you made us into targets. Eat us, you said. Then fed us leftovers. But now we're here. We did not die. These are the faces of all the people your hatred murdered. These are the faces of all the people you erased. This is a war cry. We are showing with our unchained voices, this is the war you never saw coming. So walk out of our bodies and occupy our spaces. This is holy ground. This is burning bush and spaces. Scorching dragon breath. This is holy war. The fire wrestling gasoline. This is the taking back of our souls. This is our fight to be seen. For we were never invisible. We were never voiceless. We didn't need to be spoken for. We've always been here. For we are the ever-watching eye. We are the ever-ready warriors. We are the ones who show up when everyone is lost. We are the boots on the ground, daggers, pocket knives, spears and shields, arrows and war paint. We learned from the feet of our grandma that war is the language of the unheard, so hear us now. And the next time they ask you who we are, tell them we speak for ourselves so they can ask us. And you're lucky.
We only want
our
our
rights
and not revenge.
How do you introduce that? One more round of applause because you've already started. Thank you. The next artist understands that the word punchline contains both a sport and an art. Akiingia ukumbini yake sana sana anakuanga ni vita vya vina. All the way from way beyond Viewpoint, Nakuru. One of the greatest to ever do it. Please put your hands together for Mbunge Aliye Parara.
Hello. This piece is called Fujo ndani ya Masjid. Mwadhini anaadhini. Anaashiria waumini waje msikitini. Anawaalika popote walipo wapige swala. Na kuna sababu nyingi za kupiga swala. Kuombea amani ya nchi, kuombea makafiri wapate injili ya dini, au kuna mikutano, matayarisho ya Idi, au hata masomo ya maulidi. Islam ni maadili. Islam sio funzo la fujo. Japo kunao wanaotumia madaraka kufunza itikadi kali ndani ya madrasa, wanaotumia masjid kufuga mujahidin. Na kama tu ionekanavyo siku njema, mtoto mzuri hujulikana mapema. Na ukiwa makini, hata katili huonesha dalili za kupotoka. Lakini madhambi ya mtu mmoja si tosha kujumlisha na kutoka. Akiua kwa jina la dini, si kuwafanya Waislamu wote magaidi. Wao ndio huathirika zaidi kadhaa wanapokaidi. Lakini sio hali. Tendo zuri tu ndio ubebu wa kibinafsi. Chances are, ukisema unaitwa Haji utanyimwa nafasi ya kazi. Utaishi long enough kurudisha mtaji, ama utaipoteza nafsi kwa jihadi. Mandhari sio safi kwa mahijabi. Ishara ya hatari. Utapikuliwa kwa kina kama mikono umepaka hina. Profile juu ya mavazi. Tuache kuogopa kile hatujui. Kuvalia buibui hakumfanyi mtu adui. Chambua mafunzo ya Ali Mazrui. Islam ni amani. Wanaoenda kinyume sio sababu tosha kuifanya kuwa haram kuwa mfuasi wa mtume. Kufanya iwe hell on earth kufollow Islam. Ole wako kama wewe ni Muislam na unaishi ndani ya Islam. Utapata tabu kwa paneli konja ya non-Muslims na imam. Tao ndio lisho, upate kitambulisho. Na bado kizazi chako kitasumbuliwa kustakimiwa. Utabaguliwa. Huduma bure za serikali kwako zitawa gali. Kila wakati utakumbushwa hakuna mali enough kubuy your way out of hii hali. Labda kuna relief mwezi wa Ramadhani. Pocho pocho kibao na aroma za pilao zitawaongeza thamani. Kwa moyo zenye sumu zikitaka kuwasaidia kuvunja saumu. Zenye nia ya kudhuru zikiwatakia mahbul. Si karim hii Juma. Hadi dhidi ya Muslims musizu Juma. Uhuru wa kuabudu umepewa kila mtu. Unaabudu Mungu gani anayekupa nguvu kuwanyima utu? Ona kwanza binadamu kabla hujaona Muislamu. Because Islam is perfect. Muslims are not. Ugaidi ni ugaidi. Sio Uislamu. Gaidi ni gaidi. Sio Muislamu. Mwadhini akiadhini hawaaliki kupanga fujo. Hakuna nafasi ya fujo ndani ya masjid. Bunge. Deep. Ndani ya ardhi nasikia vilio. Imebaki tu mifupa, lakini bado inatoa sauti miili hiyo. Sauti za kusaka haki. Sauti zimejaa hamaki. Sauti zilinyamazishwa zikipaza kukandamizwa. Kama kanda za kuumiza. Zinacheza dhamira. Zinataka kusikika through hizi reflections za mira. Zikisema, I want fractured love for this nation. Iliriwadiwa na fractured skulls in retaliation. Na ruptured uterus. Wakismea jina na claims za kuavia mimba. Another one bites the dust. Juu ya desire ya rebirth ya inchi just. Hata ardhi inalalamika uzito. Ya kubeba secret graves za wasojulikana waliko. Uzito. Za tears wanaolilia their loved ones kama tambiko imechoka hata mito. Kudrown voices za walofishwa maji. Zimekuwa too loud zikimuita mwovodaji. Tunataka kwenda nyumbani. Tumechoka chini ya maji. Sauti zikililia makiwa. Sauti ndani ya ziwa Victoria yenye historia ya kutoshiba maiti. Maiti zinasimulia circumstances za kifo. Attached na ushahidi dhabiti tulivyoiona kwa runinga sio hivyo. Sauti zinamisiwa maskani. Sauti hazitasikika tena makani. Sauti zilitenganishwa kabla ya kufika nyumbani. Sauti hata hazikuwika duniani. Zinalalama. Ni nani alipanga njama? Na kufabricate tales za kushikisha victims lawama. Ni nani? Ndo alimuua bila kumpa haki yake mgala. Sins za wagala. Ni nani? Ndo aliamri fumanizi ya ame dhidi ya raia hawajajiami. Nani ndio analipa? Nani ndio highest bidder? Nani ndio tune yake inaipa guilty fit rhythm ya kustamp in unison wakiapprove impunity? wakipitisha bills za kushoot to kill in the name of security. Price ya kununua ulinzi dhidi ya mlinzi anawasababisha dhiki. Ndo jamii ya hizi voices hazifiki. Hatustahili kuwa tumepitia yale tumestahimili. Sauti zinalia kwa uchungu. Hakikosi deni la kifo chenye asili ya kiumbe. Lakini kama lazima tufe, msitusingizie anasa kwa kutuua na mwanamke. Wacha tufe kiume. Kama lazima tufe, msitutupe barabarani uchi wa mnyama. Tuliishi maisha za maana. Hata maisha ya kahaba ina thamana. Tuwakumbushe, tuna haki hata in the afterlife. Haki ya kurudishwa nyumbani ya loved ones watupe final buriani. Haki ya familia kupata justice wakiwa duniani ndio hata sisi tupumzike. Tuna haki ya kupumzika. Kupumzika kwa boma, si nafasi zetu kuchukuliwa na migomba. Kama lazima tufe, tuna majina, mtutaje kwa majina. Duniani tayari imejaa tabu, so kama lazima tufe, tutakufa. Lakini sio kwa mikono ya binadamu. Bunge.
The only person in this country mwenye tumepea ruhusa ya kutumia jina mbunge. It's the only person anaipea heshima inayofaa. Please, one more round of applause for mbunge aliye parara. Hata kama mbunge wamesema una glow siku hizi, so ni kama utafikiria jina is vipi. Mbunge is from Nakuru. Goofy is from Nakuru originally. Siku hizi anakuanga pia Malindi, Johannesburg, nini. Nyash, who started the show, is from Nakuru. So tafadhali, tusiambiane Nairobi pekee ndio iko na talanta. Toka kidogo, enda Nakuru. Tulisema mimi ni watimao. Amjana nikifanya majambo lakini mimi huongea sana. Dofan ni watimao. Talanta iko kila mahali. Sawa sawa? Aya. The artist who will come up next, pia ametoka very far. I think ni Dago, but siko sure. But Dago kuna time pia haikuwa Nairobi. Tusijudge watu, sawa sawa? Yeah? Mnamjua, depends on how cultured you are. If you are watching TV wakati kulikuwa kitu inaitwa Briefcase Inc. Unamjua hizo gedha. Nakujua wewe ulikuwa nasari. Kama umekuwa theater, mashow fulani, sijui Tualifu Birds nini, ako huko ni mnoma. Amefanya pia show yake juzi, ako about kufanya nyingine. Ako na music career. Spoiler na kusikia huko nyuma. Umseni mnoma. Kama we ni fan wa Just a Band, umewatch ma video kadhaa, ako huko ndani. Na kama uko na harusi mahali, kama nyumbani unaambiwa leta mtu, unahitaji host kwa after party ya harusi hapo hivyo, huyu jamaa pia ni host. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people, put your hands together for El Safan Jor.
Balls. What 24 birds amupo? How many guys went for 24 birds? Yeah. So let's do the phrase. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Okay. For all of you who do not understand the play is exactly. Oh, you needed the action? Oh, okay, we do it again. 1, 2, 3. Balls! Okay. All of you who are looking at me. Tupatane next week. Okay. Wicked men, don't you know? Judgment is at your door. poor people won't take it no more. And for all the evil things you do to the weak, the humble and poor, Jah will be there to even the score. Wangapi wa reggae hapa? Siwaimbi reggae. It's just a good song the next time we go to the protest. Fuck you, Mr. President. Oh, it's so evident that you are no clever than a hammer or a sack of shit. You brag on a bed of sin. You rob and you kill for thrill. You steal and you think it's win. Now you will pay. Sijipati, sina way out. Sikumbuki, sina aware. Hamna giza, hamna mchana. Kwani wapi nimetoea? Na hisia za huzuni. Kisa na maana sielewi. Yu wapi wale wenzangu? Mbona siwasikii? Nioneshe njia, nipe nuru, nirudi kwa mamangu. Nioneshe njia, nipe uhuru yangu na wenzangu. Nioneshe njia, nipe nuru yangu na wenzangu. Nioneshe njia, nipe uhuru, nirudi kwa mamangu. Hasira sijijui, na uoga sipumui, sina uwezo situlii, ngori sikusikii. Situlikuwa wengi, umati na sherehe, mbona tena kwa baridi mwili wangu haunisikii? Na hasira sijijui, na uoga sipumui, sina uwezo situlii, ngori sikusikii. Situlikuwa wengi, umati na sherehe, mbona tena kwa baridi mwili wangu haunisikii? Nioneshe njia, nipe nuru, nirudi kwa mamangu. Nioneshe njia, nipe uhuru yangu na wenzangu. Njia, In the absence of reason, chaos resides. And in the presence of chaos, a fire will arise, one to quench the thirst of destruction. And when this fire is done, new life will be born. That's the order of life. And we must choose which will give light of day. Are whichever we choose, the other will still happen. This is the inevitability of life. That though we have a part to play in the future, while in the present, one day that decision will most probably be forgotten. And who knows what that generation will give light of day. In essence, we have such a small window of influence to think or even imagine that we can shape a different tomorrow, given that which is reasonable. But a small window is all we need. You see, when growing up, my father constantly complained of the regime of that day. Many years later, I still remember a not in fondness of the regime's way of running the nation. When growing up, my father pushed me to study, even though I preferred to daydream. Many years later, I reaped the harvest of a good education, and I have bigger dreams. When growing up, I was inspired by fictitious heroes and happily ever afters. Now, with a healthy cynicism towards life, I still want to craft a better tomorrow. A small window of influence is all we need, and sometimes the smaller the better. The children. The children. You see, they are the little sparks that will light up this nation. That no matter where the inevitable darkness will strike, will not be plunged into total chaos. The children are our hope. The children are our aces. These children will be you and me years from now. And they will have in their hands these decisions that face us today. And this small window of influence may be the reason why they make the right ones, whichever they may be, or the wrong ones. You see, it all starts with us and them, but first us. So what stories will we tell? What stories will you tell? What stories will I tell? Listen, we will tell them stories of our past, stories of our present, stories of a better future. This is the heritage that we must give them, that they may learn who they are, but also that we may instill in them a commission to be better. That they too can fight oppression, that they too can conquer poverty, that they too can lead the generations to come, that they can because we did. Hence the call for you and I to do. For this small window of influence to be fully taken advantage of, we must do. We must do. We must choose to be that generation. That generation that chose to be better, and not the best because that's a goal in futility, but better. Now, some of you may ask why. Why should I try to change this country? To you I say, if you have not yet found conviction to make your nation, your country a better place, these words are not for you. But to you who asks how can I begin to change something that more than seems to be beyond me? To you I say, don't set out to save the world. Just be here for those who are here with us, for the time they're here with us. We can fight oppression. We can conquer poverty. We can lead the generations to come. And may we. I said we can conquer poverty. We can fight oppression. We can lead the generations to come, and may we stand to be counted that when the naysayers question our resolve, we shall tell them, we are that generation. So without much further ado, fuck you, Mr. President. Oh, it's so evident that you are no clever than a hammer or a sack of shit. You rob and you kill for thrill. You brag on a bed of sin. You think that to steal is win, but now you will pay. My body lies cold, decay, and in mold, but my spirit, it grows, and this debt will show till every crook is in book, from the hill to the brook. So fuck you, Mr. President. My faith will be evident. Njia, oh, njia, This is what Rex probably sang.
Nioneshe njia, nipe nguvu, nirudi kwa mamangu. Nioneshe njia, nipe uhuru yangu na wenzangu.
Thank you.
Please, some more. Njora has said 4 words that we all want to say in public all the time. Okay? Nisawa, in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. It's always something new with this guy. And I wonder, album yake itwa Njora wa Manjaro juu, for true. Njora ni wa Manjaro. He used to host a poetry event called Eve of Poetry, which gave me space to start out as a performer, and I'm forever grateful for that. At around the same duration, there's another poet whose work showed me what we can do with words and the kind of beauty we can achieve. And I consider her among the royalty of this poetry thing. Her book, Blue Mother Tongue, is one of the finest things I've ever read. And I hope you know this human being. If you do not, you're in for a treat. Without further ado, beautiful human beings, please give it up for Guatilo.
Hi.
That part. Thanks, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
This poem is called Wanajijua, or They Will Not Believe. They will not believe we are awake. They will not believe we are done with commissions of inquiry, task forces, handshakes, the now tied, now wringing hands of our fathers. They will not believe our mothers' hands can curl into fists. They will not believe that we will feed our children no longer on what is rotting. They will not believe we know they never intended to lead, only steal, kill, destroy. They will not believe we wait for no Messiah. They will not believe we seek our earthly inheritance as well as the golden gates of heaven. They will not believe how sick we are of the golden calves our parents built and destroyed. Built and destroyed. Built and destroyed here in the desert each time despair threatened to overwhelm. They will not believe how sick we are of the drivel their high priests spew, as if God were both deaf and blind. They will not believe we will end generational patterns. They will not believe we discern them as the demons in the pigs, the serpent in the garden, Satan on the mountaintop. They will not believe our temptation is at an end, that we are bored of the repetition. Bored of the repetition. It ends with us. They will not believe. We see the Judas goat masquerade as shepherd. They will not believe we refuse to be steered to the abattoir again. They will not believe the mystery in their doublespeak can be read as easily as a Google map. We expect dead ends, circuitous routing. We expect the lie. Take it in stride. They will not believe we are fluent in bureaucratic processes, systems, rules. They will not believe we know how to wait in line, can overlay and short-circuit the old technologies, the new technologies. They will not believe we are fluent in both. They will not believe we can read, analyze, visualize. We are so studious, they will not believe. They will not believe we know our history. Know every betrayal going back to Cain, but going back to Jomo and Angaine. They will not believe us to be descended from the young women and men who drove out the British, who hunted them until they became uneasy, profiting from our dreams, our inheritance, while also living amongst us. They will not believe we know these stories as our first milk, that we are not diseased but inoculated. They will not believe themselves to be their ancestors' great shame. They will not believe when we call upon our ancestors whose blood runs through this land against them. They will not believe we remember how. They will not believe what they bring upon themselves, upon their children, upon all who aid them. They will not believe when they breathe the smoke of the fires they lit. They will not believe when their granaries echo emptily at the sound of their own dictates. They will not believe when the highways and runways they bleed relentlessly dry. Stop their escape. They will not believe when finally they have nothing but prayer left. And when they pray, they will not believe the silence, God turning their ears away. They will not believe when their kin turn against them. They will not believe when they, once called honorable, once called excellent, receive their true names. Incompetent, servant, thieving steward, murderer, criminal, outcast. They will not believe we can do better than go down with them. They will not believe we can pull ourselves up from out of the hell they wrought, restore our good name and our inheritance, to live our ancestors' wildest dreams, our own wildest dreams, and rest our future secure. They will not believe that even when we sleep, we are dreaming of freedom. Thanks.
They will not. Shangwe na vigelegele kwa Ngwatilo tafadhali. Siniliwa show. And now, folks, we're coming to the end of this wonderful evening. And the artist I'm about to introduce is a treat, has been a treat for me every time I've watched him perform. One of the most excellent writers and performers I know. He's the king of the jungle. He's the king of... He's the other half of the production I mentioned earlier. You remind me of someone, which is happening on the 7th of December. If you don't have your tickets, you should get them tonight. All right? And now, friends, countrymen, countrywomen, put your hands together for Mufasa.
Hi, guys. So I talk a lot about my mother in my poems. And that's because my mother says things that I cannot forget, like I cannot ignore. Like the first time I performed a poem on national TV, I remember my mother called me and said, I remember actually say the words, I'm a son of a woman, a black woman. My mother called and said, Kibet, nasikia uliambiwa hata mama yako ni mweusi kabisa. Ama ulanstaambiwa. I don't know about your mother, but when I was a kid, my mother did not like it when you looked tired in front of her. My mother would ask, umechoka nini? Umechoka kujilipia school fees? Ama umechoka kutulipia rent? Ama umeamka ukajambia tu, "Toh, wacha nichoke." When I was 14 years old, my mother used to come home almost every day with new clothes for herself. And my mother had a game to make sure we didn't feel bad about the fact that she was buying herself new clothes every day. My mother would come home and say, Kibet, just kiss. I would say, 500. And my mother had the best reaction ever. Mother would say, hey, wabi anani po, 50. And when I was, I think, 18 years old, that's the first time I realized my mother is a G, you know? Like my mother told me to look for Chiri on her contacts and then call Chiri. So I went through her phone, couldn't find Chiri. Then my mother took it and said, later. And then she went through it. Then she showed me. She was like, Winnie Nani? My mother's Chiri starts with a J. G. The first time I was featured on a newspaper on a full page, my mother called and said, Kibet, po, nimekogopa. Unajua hata Ruto akiangoka seti, saa zingine wanakata miguu yako hakugusa. He! Dume! Today I'm not going to talk about my mother. My mother has nothing to do with this performance. Okay, one last time. Okay, one last time. This is the last one. When I was 17 years old, I used to think of preachers as people who had a national solution to every national problem, you know? So when I was 17 years old, I told my mother I wanted to be a pastor. My mother said, if you can't save money, how will you save people? That's the last one. On the first day, the Father in heaven said, let there be light. On the first day, the founding father of our nation said, let there be lies. And every president who came after him found lies to be good, so they kept people in the dark. On the second day, the founding father of our nation grabbed and shared land amongst friends to create people who were above others, just like God separated the sky from the earth, or what earth to see. On the third day, now this is where it becomes about waters. On the third day, the founding father of our nation created a system that did not need to account to its citizens, that has
trickled down to today. Remember Kimorer? Remember the dams? They blew damn money, but does anyone give a damn? Just to remind you, on the third day, God did not give a damn. He gave us oceans and lakes and seas with water that did not cease, right? On the fourth day, the Father in heaven created the sun. On the fourth day, the founding father of our nation created a son. And just like the moon and the stars, there's no limit to what his son could do. I mean, look at what he did. He created a bird. His team was birds, vultures. Oh, that's the fifth day, birds, right? See? No? Yeah? No? Okay. On the sixth day, God made man. On the sixth day, the founding father of our nation made man carnivorous. It's a man-eat-man society. Politics is how politicians become rich and how people become subjects of lessons they have never learned from. Check the newspapers. It's not news if it's not on the cover. People make the cover make the news. People make newspapers are in the business of selling politics. It's not undercover when it's on the front page on the seventh day. The Father in heaven rested. On the seventh day, the founding father of a nation did not. He made sure corruption, iniquity rested within us. Now, I wasn't alive to see J.M. Karaoke's shadow, but ever since I read about him, his zeal for democracy and unity shadows me. I've got my own shadow. Each time I look at it, I ask, am I tall enough? Have I done enough? Do I make you think? Do I want to be the first thing on your mind, or do I want to be the back of your head, comfortably casting shadows that will comfortably host ninjas? Where is your sword? My sword is my sword. I speak reality that casts through your lives and will raise your kids. I give you reasons to raise your doubts. So don't tell me we of the Writers Club should never write pages that will host stars starring as Thomas Sankara, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Yashpal Gai, Wangari Maathai, Malala Yousafzai, Chalcam Tai, Rosa Parks, Nazmi, Mahatma Gandhi, Stevie Kotomba, Matata Matluda, Timothy Amuge, Wadongo, Larupa. We of the poetry tribe will write pieces that will draw the sun and ways to enlighten folks in villages, women in corridors, thugs in offices, bullies in schools, guns in peace missions, visionaries in social halls. In fact, clap for DJs who won't retire and continue to make up words like Rabba-dabba-doo, this is for you, to bring back songs of revolution, songs like in a Zakana, Kana, songs Kahiza, because ours is not a revolution of gun and violence. Ours is a revolution of the mind, spirit, and energy. And we are going to pick our movement by teaching those who did not say teach us. And we are going to walk around with t-shirts saying we are not the real deal, because we are what is real. Because to be real, freedom as a word might mean free. Free from poverty, free from inequality, free from government corruption. But freedom by itself is not free. Freedom is responsibility. My name is Mufasa, and I take full responsibility for the freedom of my mind.
Nibati, there is no one else in that lineup. Tuifungie hapo, si ndio? Tuifungie hapo, si ndio? And also, a performance like that, words like those, they need to be watched by more people. All right? So please go for Mufasa's gig, Goofy's gig, and this entire evening will be up on YouTube on Baraza's page. Please make sure the people who could not be here to watch that performance, or those who had to leave early for one reason or the other, watch it. Sawa sawa? Asanteni sana for staying with us all evening. You've been amazing. Before we close the thing, you were handed a piece of paper with, is it graph paper? It's a QR code. It's also on your screens. I've been told it has goodies. I'm going to scan it right after this. Please scan it before you leave. Actually, I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Should I start counting? Like at 7 now, right? Or is it at 6? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are done for now, but you can keep scanning it after this. We have one last piece of art for you. Behind you, at the end, near the emergency exit I was speaking about, there's a digital exhibition ongoing. We have silent disco headphones right at the back. So as you're finishing your drink, as you're saying hi to the person you've not said hi to before, you can go wear the headphones, go through the exhibition. It won't take too much of your time. It's still connected to what we've been talking about today and what has been going on in the country. Sawa sawa? Asanteni sana for being here. I'd also would like to send the fantastic people of Baraza a vote of thanks. Asanteni sana for making this possible. To Semabox for shooting the entire thing. Makofi kwa watu ambao wako pale kwa bar, please. Tafadhali. Please. Kina Jonte, asanteni sana kwa kutushikilia. And one final round of applause for every artist who stood on this stage today. My name is Ngatia. This has been Civic Canvas. Asanteni sana. See you on the next one and have a great weekend.